It's setting up meeting for Facebook. It's about live now.
Okay. Tell me when to start. The status of mathematics in South Africa is deteriorating day by day. My name is Isasiphi Mdingi, and I am your host today, as I have a privilege to interview Awonke Nqayiya, hailing from the rural area of Tsandani. Awonke completed his matric in Gobe Commercial High School, and he later on enrolled at Nelson Mandela University and completed a Bachelor of Science majoring in applied mathematics and mathematics statistics and he completed with a cum laude. He also went further to complete his honors in mathematical statistics at the University of Nelson Mandela. Currently, he's pursuing his master's in mathematical studies, in mathematical statistics, and his research focus is on using machine learning algorithms to predict acute kidney injury. Awonke is a proud member of the Golden Key International Honors Society. His interest is exploring mathematical teachings and applications. He has served as the head of mathematics department at the Institute for Applied Science and Commerce. He is fond of youth development. He finds exploring mathematics very interesting as he applied it on real life problems. When I speak of Awonke, he is an embodiment of what Nina Simone calls to be young, gifted, and Black. As he writes his book as an author of mathematics study guides titled Mathematics with Nqayiya. Awonke, I welcome you today to speak to the people of South Africa, to speak to young people of the World's Legal, the Methodist, and South Africa at large. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Isa. It's good to be here. And thank you for having me. I'm very well. And yourself?
I'm good too. It's very interesting, the journey you decided to take. And I would just want to understand your background in terms of you coming from Tsandani, and what was it like for you to study in Tsandani, especially when it comes to mathematics?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, let me say hello to everyone that is here first, and thank you for joining the session. My name is Awonke Nqayiya, as Isa have introduced me. I'm coming from the Eastern Cape in a rural area called Tsandani. So that is just like around Butterworth. So I started there from primary up until high school. So when you want me to talk around mathematics and the schooling phases that took me from primary to high school, well, I have a large scope on that. So hopefully I won't dwell much and take all of your time. Please stop me if I do so.
Okay.
No, in primary, I did primary at Seku Senior Primary School, which is located in Tsandani. I met a remarkable mathematics teacher there, the late Mr. Mateza, and then moved to Bohu Junior Secondary School, which is located at Tutuha. Also met a remarkable mathematics teacher there called Mr. Greg. And then I made a poor decision of going to grade 10 at Lulisa Senior Secondary School. Well, then I couldn't predict what was going to happen in that year. There was a lot of strikes around at that school. There was a lot of strikes because we had few teachers to none in terms of the teachers in the major learning areas, including mathematics. So I did not have a consistent teaching in grade 10 in mathematics. So what I did is that I took a mathematics textbook, which is the classroom mathematics, which is for grade 10. And then I took it, placed it at home. One thing that I did was to ensure that I studied through that classroom textbook mathematics each and every day. My mother knew. Every time she went to town, she had to buy me an exam pad because they were getting full of mathematics equations. I was trying by all means to ensure that as much as we did not have mathematics teachers in that year, but then I don't get to lose the information that I was supposed to learn in that grade, in grade 10. So I managed to pass from grade 10 and then went to Kobe Commercial High School. Lovely school, lovely environment, remarkable teachers, remarkable learners, a healthy competition there. So I did grade 11 and grade 12 there. The teacher that taught me paper 2 in mathematics is Mr. Ngolo, or should I say popularly known as Uchibaseka Padela Ngolo. I highlight paper 2 because the study guide on which is Mathematics with Nqayiya is on paper 2. So his teaching methodologies were remarkable. He made me see mathematics as a beautiful subject. He made me see the art behind it. Mathematics is challenging, sure, that's a general fact, but then it is also exciting and applicable in real life. So Mr. Ngolo, alongside with Ms. Nqayiya, they taught me to see the beauty of mathematics, to see how we can apply mathematics in real life, to find mathematics exciting. So all of these teachers had a contribution, to ensuring that the love that I have for mathematics keeps burning, keeps growing. And yeah, that's why we are here now. It's because of all the contribution that they have made during that journey from primary to high school.
Okay, thank you. Just to retract a bit, your story of not having a teacher for a year is a very common scenario in our schools. And I would really like to know, or you just touched briefly, what kept you that year to say, okay, I'm going to do this? Because what more often happens is that when learners lose their teachers in front of them, especially when it comes to mathematics, they just give up and be like, I'll wait for when I have a teacher. So it means when they go to grade 11, they don't have the foundation. What happened to you to say, okay, I'm going to stick with this? I understand in primary, you had great teachers, which is, again, it's a very, in the current South African status, sometimes very rare to have that. But as a young boy in Centrale, I am sure there were many things that were happening, but you chose to focus on this. And what was motivating you to do that?
Well, I think it's two things. I'm going to mention one, then I will follow with the other one. The first one is that I got to understand at an early age the system of teaching and learning. That it is in 2 phases. Okay. In order for a learner to succeed, he or she has to follow both of these 2 phases. The first phase of teaching and learning happens inside classroom, whereby a teacher comes and presents a lesson, and that is done. That is phase 1. And then the second phase is what happens during the study sessions, is what happens during, the self-study at home. So that is the second phase of teaching and learning. So the absence of a teacher does not mean that the teaching and learning is over. It just means that one component of teaching and learning is just not there, which is the face-to-face classroom experience, which is one of the things that I think are happening at the moment as we try to venture into online teaching. So the face-to-face teaching and learning at that time when I was in grade 12, especially in mathematics and physical sciences, it was not there. But then I was like, okay, it's not the end of the world. There is also the second phase of teaching and learning, which forms also a valuable contribution towards my success in mathematics and in grade 10 generally. So I had to stick to the second phase, which is the study sessions, the self-study sessions even at home. So that is the first motivation. The second one is that, growing up, I selected a number of people that I could look up to. I viewed the way, I observed and analyzed the way in which they lived their lives, the way in which they, used education to better their living. Those are the individuals that were born on the same circumstances as mine, which is in rural areas, if not worse. But still, they managed to create remarkable lives for themselves through education. So that was an inspiration. So to give up on mathematics was then automatically giving up, in making sure that I accumulate a better life through education. So one of those inspiring individuals, I've never told him this, maybe he's here, and I'm not so sure. It's my brother, Awonke Nqayiya. I appointed him as, someone that I could look up to. He was born in the same situations, if not worse, but still he managed to create a remarkable life for himself through education.
Okay, your story is, I'll attribute a lot to your circumstances of having such people in your life, which is at your age as a young person was very also remarkable on your side to quickly learn that. And I think for me personally, when I observe your story, you were called into mathematics. It's what you're called to do in life. So you had to realize it at a very young age. And then now you transition to university. You, of course, based on your love for mathematics, you choose to do mathematics. And at some point you wake up and you say, I want to write a mathematics study. Take me through that process. What happened? What sparked that moment? What was happening in your circumstances? Did you dream about it? Did someone recommend that you do it? Tell us what gave us today from a blank page to a full study guide that allows a lot of young people to now enjoy mathematics. You've muted your mic. Please unmute your mic. Yeah, it's fine now. Please take us through.
Okay. Well, I did not, when, transitioning from high school to university, I did not, enroll on the first year for mathematics or statistics. I got lost somehow, which is a common factor for almost, learners that come to the institutions of higher learning. It's a common factor to get lost somehow, get enrolled in a program that you did not select by yourself. So I enrolled in the Faculty of Health Sciences in a program called Medical Laboratory Sciences. It was a nice course. I mean, I could understand the vision that they had, which is to study the human body, the structure, the cells that form that human body, and the pathogens that get to attack that human body, the cells that defend, that I could understand their objective. It was quite a nice course, but then for me, it was more medical. It was too theoretical. I was like, nah, I need something that is mathematical. So that is what I knew, I should be doing, mathematics. But then I made that choice of doing medical laboratory sciences due to, I come from rural areas. So in rural areas, there's not a lot of information as to the things that you have to consider when you select a career choice. So there are a few of those things in rural areas whereby you have to consider passion, gift, and stuff like that. So I came to the institutions of higher learning, enrolled in medical laboratory sciences, and then I got exposed into the faculty of science. And then I came across this course which would allow me to enroll in mathematics, applied mathematics, mathematical statistics, and computer sciences. From that point, I knew this is where I belong. So on the following year, I changed courses and then enrolled in the Faculty of Health Sciences, majoring in the 4 majors that I have mentioned. So during that studying process, I got involved in tutoring processes, in tutoring sessions. I was also part of the Institute for Applied Sciences and Commerces, which had the aim to give second chance to people that failed matric, also to provide extra classes to grade 11 and 12 learners. So I was tutoring mathematics there. And then in that journey of tutoring mathematics, as I was getting involved in the programs by the Department of Basic Education, I got exposed more in the challenges that the learners have in mathematics. And that inspired me to write a mathematics study guide, because I could see the impact that I had in the learners that I was teaching in class. They could come, with some little bit of tendency or attitude towards mathematics, or with some little bit or to no understanding of the concept that we were going to unpack that day. But then towards the end of the lesson, they could enjoy mathematics. They could find it exciting. They could, relate to the content. They could find it, they could grow the interest towards mathematics. So I was like, okay, if I can make the impact to these learners, what about the other learners that I've never seen in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and stuff like that, which need the techniques that I'm using to teach these learners? I was like, okay, let me document a mathematics study guide then that will be in these places and teach learners even if I am not there. So that is why we are here discussing mathematics with Nqayiya. That is where it started. The inspiration behind it is the struggle of the learners in mathematics.
Hello. Hi, Awonke. Oh, you were muted. You're fine now. Hi, you're on mute. I don't know. Yes. Can you? I'm not sure if I can hear you now. Can you say something?
Yes, I think you can hear me now.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Sure.
Okay. That is an interesting journey to know that your story seems to be like echoing a lot of our experiences, changing careers and all of that. Yeah. And in terms of your study guide, I've read comments, people saying it's easy to understand, it's easy to apply what you're talking about. What are some of the things that you would say make it like that? What makes it different from the rest of the study guide that have been produced? What makes it unique into the market that allows people to understand it? Whereas if you were to put it a different study guide, people don't understand.
That's a very good question. When we teach learners, we teach them based on one assumption, or at least one assumption. We get into class and let's say it's a grade 12 class. We assume that these learners are expected to know something that they covered on the previous classes, which is grade 9 or something, grade 11. I mean, it's a logical assumption. but on most cases, it's not always valid, which means you will find that there's a grade 12 learner which, has a gap of information somewhere, somehow. If, let's say, we talk about solving a quadratic equation, solving for x in a quadratic equation, you will need to use the principle of factorizing. So factorizing is something that was, presented in grades such as grade 9 or something like that. So if there is a grade 12 learner that does not know how to factorize, then they will not be able to solve that quadratic equation, because that quadratic equation needs the technique of factorizing. So when you get into class and you require a learner, or you teach a learner how to solve a quadratic equation, but you exclude the background of, factorizing, that's going to be complicated for that learner, because you do not bring the basics on the table. So the most important part in any teaching technique is to ensure that the basics are there first. And then you grow with your learners from the basics to average content and to advanced content. Not just jump into the advanced content. If you do so, you're most likely to lose your learners. Or if you present a study guide that, just jumps into the advanced work, then you are most likely to have learners that say, no, this study guide is not effective and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me provide a study guide that provides the necessary basics first. So if in trigonometry, we are going to talk about, simplifying trigonometric expressions, or we are going to talk about proving, that this expression is equal to that expression, that's an advanced work. But where do we start in terms of the basics? We have to start from what is Pythagoras, what are the definitions of trigonometric ratios, what are special angles, from the grassroots, like the cast diagrams. All of that builds a foundation. It makes learners develop their understanding in the concepts and the principles. Then when they go into simplifying those complex expressions, they have the necessary basics that they have to apply. So the study guide is wired in that manner. That's why they comment and say it's effective, it's easy to follow, it's best even for self-study purposes and stuff like that. It's because it's wired for that. It's wired to bring the basics, ensure that we develop from these basics up to advanced work. We don't just jump into advanced work and expect that the learner is going to understand. No. So that is the approach that I took on this study guide. And that is one of the things that I think it makes it unique. Yeah.
Thank you, Awonke. I don't want us to go overboard without, sorry, I'm not sure if you're still speaking. Okay, without asking certain questions. So you've done the study guide and it's out there. Tell me, how many copies have you sold so far?
Well, while I was still counting, it was over 900. While I was still counting, but now I just lost count. But then there is data, so I can go back there and do count again. So for now, it's over 900.
This is amazing for a young person. Oh, I forgot to mention your age. He's only 25, and that is really, really remarkable of the work you've done. So you've done paper 2, and are there any plans to have a paper 1 study guide?
Yes, Isa, there is. I started with paper 2,
okay,
which combines grade 11 and grade 12, because paper 2 is regarded as the most challenging paper in mathematics. This is the case for learners, tutors, and teachers. it's challenging for all of them, tutors, teachers, and learners. So I was like, okay, this is the matter of agency. Let me start there and then go to, paper one. Okay. So there is a plan to publish paper one, but then, in the near future.
Okay. So now that you mentioned in the near future, what are other plans for Awonke? You are in your prime age, you're in your mid-25s, there's a life ahead of you, and you've published your book. So what are the plans in terms of your book and other issues and other aspects that you would want to share with us?
Well, in terms of the book, I view these books as some sort of a series, whereby there is episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. So it's going to come into that towards the end, as time goes by. So there will be more study guides, paper 1 for grade 11 and grade 12. And then there will be paper 2 for, let's say, for grade 9, grade 10, combining the two grades. For me, it's important to combine the grades for continuity. So there will be something like that. So the plan is to at least have these study guides, in the bookshops. I think that is the first plan. And the second plan is to have these study guides adopted by the Department of Basic Education as one of the teaching and learning materials that they use. So far that, has not been successful. I've been reaching out to them, but that there is no fruitful conversation that we have had. But then I'm still trying. Even with the bookshops, it becomes a little bit hard if you self-published. I think it would have been better if I took the traditional publishing route. So that is the game plan and the grip I have around the study guides, to have them in the bookshops, also to have them adopted by the Department of Basic Education.
Okay, awesome. And one question when I was asked to host this session that I had was, I want to ask this one. Are you planning to translate the study guide into vernacular languages like Xhosa, Sotho, and other African languages?
Well, I think it would need other, individuals to come into the party. I mean, I'm not an expert of other languages, so people would have to come and say, okay, we want to translate your study guide into this language, and then I would say that's fine, it's okay. And then people maybe would come and say, we want to translate your study guide into, let's say, Xhosa, and I would say that's fine, that's okay. But then as for me, translating it by myself, it will take time. Like there's a lot of things that I am involved with already, and they take a lot of my time. So to say, yes, I'm going to translate them by myself, well, that's a little bit not realistic. At least not now. Maybe in the near future, sure.
Okay. So to the people that love the languages and who believe that studying in your vernacular is important, this is your chance to put Awonke, see how you collaborate and take it forward, because I think it's also important. Now we have questions that people have posted. I'll ask them as they go. The first one that I saw was, would you allow people to sell the book and in online store? So I think this person has an online bookstore, and so they're asking if you would allow them to sell your book.
Yes, that I would allow that, Isa. I think it's well, in what format? Because when you sell online, it can be sort of a PDF, or you can put it out there on the online store, and then someone purchases it. They provide the address, and then you courier.
The person who has asked the question.
Is it a soft copy or a hard copy?
Okay, I'll try and find the contact of the person who asked the question so that I can keep you in touch and take it from there. And they're saying it's a hard copy. To sell it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
Okay, I'll try and find the contact of the person and make sure that you connect. Another question is from Usis Nosisa Mayose. She's based in Cape Town, and she's asking where can she buy the study guide. She has a daughter in grade 11.
Oh, okay. Well, for now, as I've said, the study guide is not at the bookstores yet. So we use a business WhatsApp line to take orders, take details of the buyer, and then courier the study guide to that person. So I can provide the details. The number is 073 426 6012. 073 426 6012.
Okay. So I'm trying to read a comment, which is a question that says, back in my varsity years, we had something called Brawam system. Oh, sorry. You had a cut. Sorry.
Oh, so I was saying the number is 073 426 6012 where you can place the order. But then there are study guides that are available in Butterworth. You can visit the Cellular Internet Cafe located in Fingoland Mall. Also, there are study guides located in East London. You can contact Mr. Nquma Amandla at 065 696 3116. So it's 065 696 3116. Also, there are study guides located in Queenstown. You can contact my brother, Awonke Nqayiya, and also my sister, Zizipho Nqayiya, at 0788 55 041. 0788 55 0418. Yes. 0788 55 0418. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. So there are quite a number of questions from Mr. or Miss Nonza. Oh, I think it's Mr. Nonza Dumisa. He gives a background that, okay, first he's thanking you for doing the session, and he gives a background that back in university, they used to have what they call Brawams, the SWAM project, which was combined with social development and basic education as a corporate social investment project where they had to mentor and tutor students with an SNS first bursary. So then he's asking, could this not be an option to relook as part of the student giving back to the country, considering their fees will be paid by the state? So meaning that you would train certain students, so you had a project or someone else started a project and partner with you, and you train these young people on how to use your study. And then because they're being assisted by the state, NSFAS to pay for their studies, then as part of the community work they're doing, they tutor and mentor students in school for free, because they're already being assisted by the state to pay for their fees.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. That would be a very excellent initiative. I mean, there is a need for it, I can tell already, to ensure that the users of these study guides are trained firstly, and then also not only the teachers, not only the learners, but also the teachers as well, so that we put them in some sort of a mathematics clinic. Someone came to me with, a similar project with what you have, with what you're saying from the sister, is that we have some sort of a mathematics clinic whereby we ensure that we train the teachers that will be using this study guide so that they use it effectively. So it would be amazing to have such a proposal. or to ensure that we submit such a proposal.
Okay, his second question is part of the project. How do you think we can utilize young people who are unemployed to run the projects? Now we have two parts: the learners that are the students that are already in school provided by NSFAS, but also there's another aspect of young people who are unemployed. And so he's asking, how do you think we can utilize them to mentor at least grade 1 to grade 7 learners? And I would think from that background, he's asking so that they can at least gain some experience in working in communities.
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. Especially saying that from grade 11 to, is it grade what? From grade 1 to?
Grade 7.
Oh yeah, no, that's a very good question, because those people that are unemployed, I would want to say majority of them have done those grades, meaning that they are familiar with the content or they know what is supposed to be done on those grades. So using them as some sort of assistant teachers or some sort of tutors would be a viable option, because they are familiar with the content. I mean, they've done those grades, even if they are not familiar, but some sort of a workshop prior, having them on the field will just remind them of what is expected of them. Just give them a workshop before they go into the field. Make sure that you train them what is that it is expected of them. Just because they are not, employed, it does not mean that they can't do that. They can. So it would be a good project which would limit also the unemployment rate that we have. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. People can still continue to post their questions, and if I have not seen your question, please just highlight that here was my question. I have not, you have not said it.
Maybe there's someone here in Zoom that wants to have a question.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm waiting for. You had your book, you've written your book. What would be your advice to someone who say, I have something to say and I have something to contribute into the knowledge production in South Africa, but I'm not sure what's the journey towards writing my own book. So what would be the advice to them?
Well, you started your statement excellently. You said this person says they have something to say. And that's important for any writer, because you need to be aware of what is it that you are addressing, the question that you want to tackle, the issue that you want to address. You need to have that first. If you want to write for, mathematics or physical sciences or whatever thing that you want to write about, you need to have a point of question. It's not enough to say, I want to write a mathematics study guide. Why do you want to write a mathematics study guide? Which gap that you have noticed that you want to fill? Is it the lack of basics? Or is it the lack of the insight towards the applications of mathematics and physical sciences? What is your question? So it's important to have a question, and then they structure their writing process or their writing approach or their writing layout such that it addresses exactly that question. Well, the steps to go through the writing process, the first one is to write, of course. Ensure that you keep writing regardless of, the obstacles that you encounter. Just keep writing. It's not going to be easy. It's not an easy journey, but then at some point, once you get attached to the question that you want to address, regardless of what you face, because you're going to face hardships at the end of the day, but regardless of that, your question will remain as a motivation for you to keep going. So start writing. That's a good thing. And then do research in which, in the ways in which you can use it to improve your writing. there are people that have written before, not necessarily what you are writing about or the question that you are writing about, but other things. But from what they have written, you can learn a thing or two, be it in the way of writing or in the way of addressing the question that you are addressing. But then at the end of the day, there's something that you're going to learn. So start writing, do research, and then do research about the ways in which that you can take to publish your material, safely publish your material. I think it's important to include that adjective, safely publish your material, because there are things that revolve around copyrights and stuff like that. So do the investigation, research about the ways in which that you can take to publish. There are two of them, which is self-publishing and then traditional publishing. It depends you want to do which one and why. You have to understand the disadvantages and the advantages, the gains and the losses and the implications that are involved. And then you're going to decide based on your interest. I wouldn't say the best possible option is this one, or the worst possible option is this one. No, that really depends on what is it that you are looking for. That's one.
All right. Thank you for that. It's quite an informative way of thinking about it. I'm very much fond of research, and I think it's very important. And I must also congratulate you and echo the many words that have been given by people that we're very proud of you, because a lot of times, someone once said that the richest place in the world is the graveyard. Because many people died with their own ideas because they lacked the self-esteem and the confidence to put their work out there. And here we are today. We missed on the chance of having their work being part of us and learning from it. And if there's anyone who still wants to ask a question, maybe you want to raise your hand and have a question posed directly to Awonke, you can do that. We still have 10 minutes before closing. And you've written this book, and I'll say that a lot because it's a proud moment for all of us. You represent all of us in that aspect. What do you say to struggling high school learners who are at the verge of saying, I am done with mathematics and I cannot do this anymore? Because a lot of people have dreams. I've seen friends, I've seen colleagues who had dreams and they were shattered because they failed mathematics. They couldn't go beyond. And at this moment, there's a child who wants to give mathematics one more chance because they're struggling. What do you want to say to them?
Well, I think they have to understand first why they are struggling. Because struggling is the outcome. Surely there are contributing factors towards that outcome. So to fight the struggle, it's important to go down into the contributing factors and fight the contributing factors. That eventually will fight the struggle. So they have to identify the contributing factors. Let's say a contributing factor might be the lack of basics. So what is the solution for that? Try by all means to go, seek the textbooks from previous grades. Try to sit down and go to the chapters that you think you lack basics on. So those basics will develop you such that you can encounter the problem that you are facing now in mathematics. As a result, you end up saying that mathematics is challenging, or you give up in mathematics. So identify the contributing factors, which one of them might be the basic. Another thing, it might be, the approach in which the learners use in mathematics, the approach they use to study mathematics. Majority of the learners view mathematics as a subject that cannot be studied, that can only be practiced. And that's not a correct, conclusion. It's a misconsumption. It is misleading the learners. The first stage of studying mathematics effectively is to sit down, go through the principles, the concepts, the theorems of mathematics. Make sure that you get the understanding of that. So that is stage one. And then you go to the second stage, which is practicing mathematics. Now, when you practice mathematics, that is where you apply those principles that you understood, those concepts that you understood, those theorems that you understood. So learners tend to say mathematics is challenging. I give up on mathematics. But why? Why is it challenging? It's because the approach that they are taking, they just jump into the second phase, which is the second stage, which is the practicing process of mathematics. But then how can they practice mathematics without the knowledge from stage one, which is starting process? Because when you practice, you apply techniques and principles and theorems that you were supposed to learn from stage one. So how can they apply those techniques in stage two if they did not study them in stage one? You see, that is struggle sabo. They say they're struggling in mathematics because they're struggling with the practicing process. But what are the contributing factors? They just jump into the practicing process. They leave the studying process. So they should change their approach, make sure that they sit down, study mathematics, the principles, the concepts, and then develop and apply those in stage two. So yeah, I think those are the two things that I would recommend: seeking the basics and focusing on stage one and stage two. Yeah.
Thank you, Awonke. There is no doubt that this, what you just said, needs to be had not only by learners, but also teachers. Because I think having gone through mathematics myself, I lacked the basics and understanding the basics and the principles. And I think that's where my challenge was. It was not with the counting, but rather not understanding the basics and the principles. And I think in some instances, teachers don't really go in detail into the basics and principles. They go more on the counting. And with that being said, there's another question that was asked: is the study guide still 220? Hi, Awonke, your mic is on mute.
Yes, it is 220.
Yeah. Okay. Also, someone asked again, what is your topic for your master's program?
Oh, it's a very interesting topic. We are using machine learning algorithms, which is those are the statistical algorithms. We want to predict the development.
Hi, Awonke.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Sorry, you had a technical glitch a bit, so there was a cut.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the research topic is on the use of machine learning algorithms, which is part of statistics. In fact, those are statistical techniques. We use them to predict the development of a disease called acute kidney injury. So I don't know whether I'm going to go deeper into the technicalities of it. We use the data, and then we get the data, and then we use the classification, the supervised machine learning algorithms, whereby we test logistic regression, supervised machine learning algorithm to classify whether this patient is likely to develop acute kidney injury or not. Okay. So the research topic is around that.
Okay. I would love to one day have an interview on that with you, because that's a very interesting study. But let me read the comments on the comment section. Awonke, your story is an inspiration. Thank you for serving our community with your gift. It is an honor to work alongside of you. Awonke, you inspire. I love your heart. I love your heartbeat to serve others with your gift. That's from Ronel Plakis. And then there's Tobekile Dlamini, who say, wow, the conquering of a struggle. I never had any teacher saying I must study mathematics, but they emphasize on practicing. South Africa needs this. Like I was saying also to you that I think a lot of us struggle with that because we're taught to practice mathematics, but not to study mathematics. And what will be your last words as we're about to close? It has been truly an honor to interview you and go through the journey. And like I said before, ixesha lushaba, and there's just never enough to have time with people like yourself and get to know every other detail that we want to have and want to ask you. So your last words to the rest of South Africa, to the rest of learners in high school. And I want you to touch briefly on some of the things that you think could be altered or changed in the curriculum to allow a learning for learners that is conducive, especially when it comes to mathematics.
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. I feel honored. I mean, it's remarkable to be here. Also, another thing, you see the poster that is behind me, innovator, what is it? Nominee. Yeah, that's me over there. So I've been nominated in Raising Legends, which is an initiative that seeks to groom a boy child to a responsible gentleman, I would say. It fights also a number of things, including gender-based violence. So it appreciates men that are out there that seem to be doing the most, that seem to inspire others. So I've been nominated as an innovator. So I would request that please you vote for me, which is you type innovator vote 1, and then you send that as an SMS to 33120. It's innovator vote 1. You send that as an SMS to 33120. You can vote, as many times as you want to a day. There are unlimited number of votes that are given to you. So the vote is closing on the 30th of April. The vote is closing on the 30th of April. So this is my humble request to everyone that is here on Facebook and other platforms to please vote for me. I would like to bring this one home to Tsendane. The ceremony, the award ceremony, will be in Limpopo. So I will have to go there provided that I get it. So please, let's ensure that I bring this one home to the Eastern Cape. The last words, with regards to improving the outcomes of education in South Africa, your question was around that, right? Well, yes. I think it's important that I mention you published a remarkable research that you did in China. There you have exactly the recommendations for the question that you're asking me. The first thing that you outline on that research is that the Department of Education tends to focus more on grade 12. Why this is the case? It's because they did not invest more on the learners, on their growth from the previous grades, such that they are ready for grade 12. So there was that poor investment over the past few years on those grades. As a result, the Department of Basic Education gets the pressure now to put more resources on grade 12, try by all means to push the agenda of producing good metric results, if I may put it that way. that is a problem. So to solve that, it's important to invest on the learners from the lower grades, make sure that they get those extra classes from the very lower grades, such as grade 10. They receive those extra classes. They receive those winter school. They receive those camps. They receive those spring schools. In which school did you ever see that there is a spring school for a grade 8? No, never. You have never seen that. So to have resources being invested on the lower grades will make sure learners that they get to grade 12 being ready for grade 12. This will then take the burden from the Department of Basic Education having to invest a lot in grade 12, trying to fix the mistakes of, let's say, 10 years in 1 year. So if they were to invest on those 10 years and then just polish on that 1 year, which is on grade 12, I think that would, look into improving not only the matric results, but also the understanding of the learners as they matriculate, the understanding of the concepts and the way in which they can apply those concepts. Because when we start mathematics, I think I'm going to make an example. When I talk to you about mathematics, the first thing that comes into your mind, it's X and Y, is it? Yeah. You think of X and Y, but there's a little bit of a meaning behind that X and Y. There's a meaning behind that, those numbers, 3 centimeters, those 90 degrees, there's a meaning behind that. But by the fact that when I talk to you about mathematics, you don't think about the meaning, you just think about X and Y. That means there's a problem there. The learning process is emphasized on getting the marks, which is just solve for X here, just solve for Y here. But what is X and what is Y? So if we can have the resources that are being invested over that 10-year period from whatever grade up to grade 12, we would find matriculants that are excellent, not in cramming the knowledge, but in understanding it into a deeper context. So that is what I would recommend, straight from your paper published in China. Well done on it, though. Congratulations.
Thank you, Awonke. The spotlight was not supposed to be on me on this one. Just before I read a beautiful comment that has come through, and because we're also running out of time, there's someone who asked, have you approached the district manager and mathematical educational specialists in the Eastern Cape at provincial level, and what was the feedback?
Yes, I have made the means. The feedback was not so good, so I'm not going to call the names of the people that I contacted. I've sent the study guide to them, the hard copy. They requested for it. They said they were going to assess and review everything. They make the evaluation. Is it the content? Is it fine? The layout and stuff like that. They received the study guide, and then we never had a conversation from there. They never replied to my emails, to my messages, to my phone calls. So I am there at that moment. I'm stuck there in the Meglonda. Desalindele from them. I'm trying to reach out, but then there is no sort of response. I've made the delivery of the copy already. There's no feedback as to whether we received the copy. It's too bad, the content inside has gaps and stuff like that. So we are not going to endorse it and stuff like that. There's no such a thing.
Okay. So there are 2 comments on the comment box, and I'm gonna start with the last one because I want to read the one that came before that last. It says, from Matoto Ndenjwa, I am so proud to call Mr. Awonke as my teacher. One thing he taught me that made me not to see math as a nightmare. He said that math is so much fun because it is a matter of playing with numbers by applying necessary basics. And then this one comes from your brother, Nqayiya Mascole. He says, Mthembu, we are grateful as family what you do to the community of South Africa. Ukumamele umama and uncumile. I think this is the most beautiful thing any parent could have. I'm literally almost in tears just by reading that comment because she gets to see her hard work while she's still alive, and she gets to see her child changing the lives of others. And from my side and the Wesley Guild and the Methodist Church at large, we thank you for giving your time and coming to share your story. And like I said, I do not think that we had enough time to have this conversation because there was still more to say and there was still more to ask. And I hope you would continue to have this conversation, continue to talk to people to make sure that the message gets to be emphasized continuously. And like I said, you're an embodiment of what Nina Simone calls to be young, gifted, and Black. And she continued to say what a precious gift it is to be young and gifted and Black. And you epitomize what our society say, continue to fight regardless of the circumstances that you're in. You are called from you to be where you are today. And I thank you that you make your time. And to South Africa at large that had listened to today's interview, thank you for your time. Thank you for buying data and be here. And from me, Isasiphi Nkosi and Awonke, we are saying goodbye. Be safe on the roads. Continue to wear masks, social distancing. The virus is really taking our people, and I hope everyone is being responsible out there. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.